When I was working in consulting, I saw firsthand how much valuable knowledge each engagement creates. But when a new client problem came up, I noticed two key issues. First, finding the right precedent. The best precedent isn't always from the same industry or even described with the same keywords. For example, a retail company might find a highly relevant solution in a completely different industry, like manufacturing, because the underlying problem was similar. Second, remembering what we learned from those searches. Once someone finds a useful precedent, that insight shouldn't disappear when the search is over. The next person should be able to build on it. Both of these problems lead to a much broader challenge in consulting. Firms have enormous amounts of institutional knowledge, but making that knowledge easy to find, reuse, and build on isn't easy. That's why I built CaseMatch. At its core, CaseMatch is a persistent case library, a place to store, retrieve, and update a firm's engagements. But on top of that database is an agentic memory layer, so the agent doesn't just remember the firm's past, it remembers what it searched for and what people found useful. Let's look at the core feature of CaseMatch, finding a precedent for a current client problem. Here, I've entered a problem for a client in the financial services industry. When I click Find Precedents, the agent creates an embedding using Amazon Bedrock's Titan model and searches CockroachDB's vector indexes. Once the search is complete, we can see the agent's reasoning for why it selected each precedent along with a similarity score to the client's problem. And notice that the strongest precedence doesn't necessarily come from the same industry. The agent is looking beyond industry labels and considering the underlying business problems and solutions. So here, a case from a completely different industry can still become the strongest precedent if the underlying problem is a better match. If I click Details, I can see more of the agent's reasoning, and I can mark this precedent as a useful precedent or not relevant. This feedback is written back to the agent's memory so that the system can use it to improve what it retrieves in future searches. Let's see that in action. Now I'll enter a second problem that's related to the one that we just searched. As you can see, we now have a similar past searches section. This is a search that we ran just a few seconds ago, including the problem we asked, the precedent the agent selected, and the feedback we gave it. The agent remembers what the firm asked, what it found, and what we considered useful. And to be clear, this isn't a browser state or a session cache. It's persistent data stored in CockroachDB so another agent run can retrieve it later. The agent isn't just accessing memory, it's creating memory that future searches can actually use. And this memory can keep on growing. Here's a case study sitting outside of the system. Instead of manually entering it, Bedrock extracts the case into a structure CaseMatch uses: the client, business problem, solution, technology, and outcomes. A consultant can then review it and save it, and the new case becomes part of the persistent memory layer. Now we can see the library itself. Every engagement is structured, searchable knowledge, and every new case expands what the agent can draw from in the future. So to reiterate, consulting firms don't have a knowledge problem, they have a memory problem. CaseMatch turns every engagement into persistent knowledge and every interaction into memory that can be reused.